Hello, hello. Today we have 16 different matchups to go through, 16 different starts in fantasy football. There's no bye weeks yet, so we got a lot to go through, and we're starting off with Atlanta and Carolina. We're going to get more and more confident as time goes on because we'll have more and more weeks in research and data to go through compared to just going off of last year. But I like McMillan this week in this two-game sample size. He is third in the NFL in routes run, which, what is the main problem for rookies at this time of year? They're not playing much, especially this year. We do not have much. It's like Emeka Egbuka, Tyler Warren, and I guess McMillan has been overall pretty solid. But I like him as a week 3 start. He's on the field in a pass-heavy offense basically every single play. They are throwing a lot in the red zone when they get there. Number 1 in pass rate over expected in the red zone. He just hasn't been that target yet. It's been a lot of Renfro, but given his prototype, looking at him, he's a red zone threat, obviously. So he should get more work down there, more scoring opportunities. This matchup overall is okay, but he's getting wide receiver 2 volume. He's obviously talented. I trust it. AJ Terrell will be on him a decent amount, so that's not the greatest. But outside of that, they were last against receivers last season. This year, new defense, they're middle of the road right now, so not too scary. This next one, we got Indy and Tennessee. I'm going to go Tony Pollard. It's one where there isn't too many sneaky starts in this game that I love. He has 18 carries and 20 carries. Not much receiving, which I figured it'd be a little bit lower with Cam Ward coming in as his style, but I was hoping it'd be better than this. But it is a good rushing matchup. They are at home. It's supposed to be a closer game than what the tight ends have had so far. And the Colts are bottom 5 in most of those advanced metrics in terms of run defense so far. They've had good defense overall, but in terms of the rushing game, the Titans should be able to get something going, and Pollard's production on the ground hasn't been horrible in terms of just like rushing yards. He doesn't have that touchdown yet, and the receiving isn't really there, but given everything here, the volume, being at home, Cam Ward slowly adjusting, this matchup overall pretty solid. I think he is a solid flex play this week. I don't think it's talked about a player more through 3 weeks than Brian Thomas Jr., and I would be very scared if you told me that I was saying he's a start in week 3 of the season. Mainly because why would I need to say that? But I'm here to say it. I think you should still start him this week. One, he's still getting volume. It's not like some other guys where he's going out there and he looks bad and it's 4 targets. He got 12 targets last week. That's still really good. 2, the overall ceiling. He is a big play guy, touchdown guy. There is a lot to give up when you are benching him because similar to like Kenneth Walker last week, if you bench him, there's a good shot that he scores 20 plus compared to benching him and, oh, he does well, but he scores 15, 14 fantasy points. So there's more of a risk, I would say, in benching Brian Thomas Jr. It is not the greatest matchup in the world. Like he's got Stingley on that side. Houston's offense has definitely been struggling. But when we're looking at this matchup from last year, he had one with Trevor Lawrence and he scored 22 fantasy points. And he had one with Mac Jones and he scored 18 fantasy points. He is still wide receiver 15 in volume. He is 5th in air yards. He only really needs that one play and he can still get you 3 big plays. So in terms of benching him in fantasy, I wouldn't do that just yet. Am I happy that he's my wide receiver 1 in my lineup? Maybe not. I'd rather have him be that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, or flex play. But I don't think we bench him in week 3. Next up, we got the Rams and Philly. And I'm going to say Davante Adams for this one. He's more of that wide receiver 2 for most. And I'm sure a lot of people would be initially scared looking at this matchup. He's had one really good week and then one bad week so far. And he's got the Eagles. Number 2 versus wide receivers last year. But if we're looking through these 2 games, they lost Darius Slay. They add in Adoree Jackson. The opportunity was totally there for Dallas and Kansas City. Kansas City doesn't really have any receivers right now. And when we're looking at Dallas, we obviously saw the drops from CD, but besides that, it's not like the passing attack was really struggling against the Eagles. Like Dak still threw for about 200, and when we saw what else happened there, we'd expect a little bit more. So they are 9th best first receivers this year so far compared to 2nd, and I would expect them to be more middle of the road by the end of the season if this kind of play stays how it is. So we got Davante Adams, who's a big-time red zone threat. I'm not terrified of this defense. I still think he's a confident start based on what he's getting us. and the volume he's gotten so far. He is top 5 in that volume rank, so I really like him this week overall, even in a matchup that's not the greatest. Wouldn't shy away. Pittsburgh and New England, let's go Drake Maye. One thing that I was hoping for with Drake Maye this year is he'd get more design carries. He got 1 in week 1, which on average was better than last year, but it's like, hoping that he was going to be a guy that got like 3 or 4 a game. That'd be a lot better. And then week 2 happened, and he had 3 design carries. That's the second best of his career. And the other one was like his final game in 2024. So maybe he's going to be running more consistently. He had 10 rushing attempts last week. That's awesome. Week 1, he had 46 passing attempts. That's awesome. So that got cut in half. He only had 23 passing attempts last week, but still a decent amount of dropbacks against a Miami team that they put up a ton of points on. So it was a little less plays overall. Pittsburgh was number 1 against quarterbacks last year. So not the greatest matchup you'd think. But then again, Justin Fields killed him in week 1. A lot coming from those design carries. Led the NFL that week. And then Sam Darnold, and they're 28th against quarterbacks. So first to 28th, and it's like, 2 weeks in, did they play Josh Allen and Joe Burrow? No, they played Justin Fields and Sam Darnold. So I am fine with starting Drake Maye with confidence. The volume is there. I like it overall. This next one, Tampa Bay and New York Jets. I'm getting a little bored talking about them. It is my 3rd week in a row saying the same exact thing for Emeka Egbuka. I'll go right back to it. There is some concern, valid concern, of his volume right now and overproducing. He's the wide receiver 13 right now, but his volume is at wide receiver 32. However, he's a rookie in his first couple career games, and like McMillan, is on the field a ton. And they still don't have the other weapons to go to. So he had 6 targets, then he had 7 targets. Maybe this week he has 8 targets. I think it is only going to increase, especially with a 90% route share. And the reason I say you just start again is because we have seen this story before in a very short season. I had that shadow video that I did at the end of August, kind of showing the shadow schedule for all the receivers. The worst one for any receiver to start the year was Mike Evans. In week 1, he got shadowed by AJ Terrell, and Emeka Egbuka was the benefactor. In week 2, he got shadowed by Stingley. Emeka was the benefactor. Week 3, he's going to be shadowed by Sauce Gardner. Emeka is the benefactor. It's pretty consistent overall. So I like it for Emeka Egbuka to do it again this week. Cincinnati and Minnesota, this one I am very confident in. Very confident. Mainly because I loved him in the preseason. And it's Jordan Mason. And he's getting that opportunity where they kind of confidently gave him a lot of touches in these first 2 weeks, even with Aaron Jones, specifically on the ground. And this is a very weird matchup where it's going to be Carson Wentz versus Jake Browning, which that's not too exciting. But last year as a starter, Jordan Mason, with very little receiving, scored 16 points per game in those complete games where he was healthy. And once Jones got out, which was only a quarter, so it wasn't a big sample size at all, but he played every single snap. So he should be on the field for about 80% of plays you expect. The Bengals, they were 30th against running backs last year. They are pretty average against the ground this season. They have not been good both weeks now, Sampson and then Tuden and Etienne, against receiving running backs. And Mason hasn't been that receiving back before. These first couple weeks hasn't got a ton, but they have talked about in the preseason about how they want him to be that receiving guy too. But they've kind of backed that up by giving him a lot of those routes. He almost had as many routes as Aaron Jones, who is that really good receiving back. I don't think that's on accident that he's out there for that many passing plays. So there's some opportunity there as well. Shamar Stewart, the Bengals' new defensive end, most likely not going to play in this game. So that's another thing where this defensive line that already wasn't incredible, losing one of those run defenders that has been really solid for them in these first 2 games. So I like Jordan Mason a lot. Ashton Jeanty, another running back. It's been rough. I really only have one stat here because we know the talent, at least I do. We know the volume. He's getting the work still. What's been the main issue? Well, the run blocking has been really bad. They're last in run block win rate. Ashton Jeanty is dead last in yards before contact per attempt. That's rough. I trust in Chip Kelly in terms of his rushing scheme. He is very creative, and he has been known in the past to still be able to run the ball with bad offensive lines with the style that he does it. But the reason that I would confidently start Jeanty this week is because with that, their opponent is the Washington Commanders. In the offseason, that was one of the more confident things that a lot of people agreed on was, oh, Washington's rushing defense might not be the greatest this year. And through 2 games, guess who is dead last as well, but on the other side in adjusted yards before contact? The Commanders. So they're both horrible. Maybe they meet in the middle, and that helps Jeanty. Green Bay and Cleveland, one of these last 1 o'clock games. This will be quick. It's really tough to tell you guys to start somebody in this matchup. Like, even Josh Jacobs is a horrible matchup for him. Obviously, you're starting him. But Jordan Love against the Browns offense in particular, not really going to help out Jordan Love in terms of his passing volume. He doesn't run at all, obviously. He's not the greatest. These receivers like Kraft, you're obviously starting him. The Browns against this Packers defense, like you're obviously starting the Packers defense if you have him, but my little deep sleeper that I'll give you guys, let's go Brandon McManus, the kicker for the Packers. In this offense, they should have a lot of opportunities against a Browns offense that should be giving the ball back a decent amount against this Packers defense. They should have lots of red zone trips. But the Browns have had a dominant rushing defense, and the Packers' offensive line has not looked good either. Not as bad as the Raiders, but they haven't looked good. So I think there'll be lots of scoring opportunities that maybe don't pay off in touchdowns. McManus, I think it could be a big day for him. Looking at the Broncos and Chargers, very similar in terms of their defense, both very good, this in-division matchup. I'm going to go with another guy that a lot of people have been worrying about, and I would still confidently start this week, and that would be McConkey. There has been some negatives. His targets, he only has 14. That hasn't been perfect, but I think that it should improve, especially in terms of just total targets compared to his target share, just because they are passing the ball a bunch. And against this Broncos defense, they are still good against running backs, against the run in general, and the Chargers haven't been able to run the ball too much. So yes, it's a good passing defense, but number one, I think they still pass the ball a ton. Number two is that Ladd, throughout the first 2 games, has played still the majority in the slot, especially compared to Keenan Allen. Allen is about 35% in the slot, less than he normally is, and Ladd is about 65%, which is about what he was last year, maybe even a little bit higher, which is kind of surprising. But that's important this week because he'll mostly avoid Patrick Surtain. This middle of the field, a little bit more vulnerable there. When we look at Josh Downs last week, that pure slot receiver where he's kind of playing almost every pass play in the slot, he had a 35% target share per route when he was against this team last week. So I like the potential volume that Ladd could get here in what could be a pass-heavy game. This next one, we got the Saints versus the Seahawks. Chris Olave. He was one of the main points in that wide receiver volume versus scoring video because he is number 5 in volume right now. And this goes back to his 1 game last year with Rattler. In 3 games, he has 37 targets with Spencer Rattler. Like 12, almost 13 a game. Insane. Seattle right now is number 1 against receivers. That is also in a 2-game sample size against the Steelers and the 49ers when they had a rough day. And if we're looking at the actual stats, well, yeah, they're number 1 against receivers. How good are they actually? They are 19th in passing yards per attempt allowed and 21st in passing yards allowed. So they haven't faced a ton of volume. Rattler right now is 4th in passing attempts. So I'm not worried about the defense in terms of the matchup. And when you're getting a guy that right now is healthy, we got to take advantage of that. And he's top 5 in volume. He should probably be starting for you. I got 1.5 here for you for the Cardinals and the 49ers. It's going to be Ricky Pearsall for me. I also don't mind Jennings for basically the exact same reasons that I'm going to give you here for Pearsall. He had 40 routes. That was the most on the team. 1 more than Juwan Jennings. When we're looking at the targets, he only had 6. Jennings had 10. But I have enough confidence, especially with what the 49ers have showed me with who's playing, who's getting those targets over a larger sample size. He has been putting up wide receiver 2 numbers on really good volume, still top 24 volume overall. And with no Kittle, that is only going to improve. For years and years and years, those San Francisco receivers, along with George Kittle, have always outproduced their volume. And Pearsall, 6 targets isn't great, but we would expect him to get more 7, 8 targets, 9 targets on your random day, even with Mac Jones. So overall, I like it. I'm surprised that he is not being ranked higher by most, just given his week 1 and given how he ended last season and how much he is playing right now. Like, there isn't too many logical reasons to be too scared of him. The matchup is fine, and with no Kittle, I think we have to take advantage and be starting him while he has that advantage, especially in the volume. Dallas and Chicago. Chicago, I thought was going to be a great defense. They've had different issues for why, or different reasons why they've had a bad defense so far, but they're basically bottom in about everything. The biggest thing is Jalen Johnson. One of their star corners is out. Kyler Gordon is still injured a little bit, and right now they are 31st against receivers. And Dallas's defense obviously isn't something that's too special either. So this has shootout potential, and I'm going to go George Pickens because of it. It hasn't been perfect, but he has the best end zone usage in the NFL right now through 2 games. That shootout potential could mean some extra scoring opportunities. We saw that last week with him. He has 5 end zone targets in 2 games. Finally scored in that 5th one. He's got Nashawn Wright as his primary cornerback. Nothing you're like terrified of. And then Tyreek Stevenson on the other side, who is dead last in fantasy points allowed per route right now. So the matchup, overall pretty solid. The ceiling potential here. We haven't seen that big type of play from Pickens yet. Maybe it can happen against this defense. I like him this week. Another one in that division, a different receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson. Is it legit this year? I think for week 3 at least, it can be. It's the Chiefs versus the Giants. I talked a little bit about this year, even last week with Devontae Smith. But in terms of slot versus outside receivers, there's a big difference for Kansas City. They are great against those outside guys. Still, you're going to start Neighbors, obviously. But against the slot, they've really struggled. They were 32nd last year. Right now, they're 27th in yards per attempt to slot receivers. Obviously, the Eagles only threw like 20 times last week. But Devontae Smith still led the team in receiving yards. So maybe if we're going to a Giants offense where they're going to be throwing the ball a ton more, Wan'Dale has top 15, like basically wide receiver 1 level volume. Insane. So in PPR leagues where you can get lots of those receptions, maybe the ceiling isn't a 30-point game, but that floor seems nice right now in what is a healthy matchup. I'm guessing an 0-2 Chiefs team is going to be winning in this game, so maybe that can help him out too. He's the wide receiver 9 right now. So either way, like, tough to start a wide receiver 9 through 2 weeks. And one final one, we got Monday Night Football, one I'm really looking forward to. Another one of those that kind of has that shootout potential. Detroit and Baltimore. The number one person I would start is just everybody in general. That excludes Mark Andrews kind of, but everybody. I like this game script a lot, but the one I'll go with mainly because of that is David Montgomery. I've talked a decent bit about him being like team dependent. He's very touchdown dependent, but more team dependent. If this line's offense is doing well, then he can do a lot better. And I bring up one stat to point this out for the matchup. Baltimore is last in rushing success as a defense. Success rate. I use that stat in particular on purpose because that's the kind of running back that Montgomery is used as. He is not a guy that they're wanting the explosive runs from, like a Gibbs. He's not a guy that's really dominating the receiving. He's a guy that on 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 2, and they need 2 yards, Montgomery is going to get it. And right now, the worst defense in the NFL in stopping that is Baltimore. So in terms of that usage, it should work out really well for him. When week 1 was really bad with the offensive line, and they really turned it around against Chicago last week, hopefully it can be more of a week 2. The volume is down a little bit, but the touchdown upside is definitely there. Judkins kind of hurt this Ravens defense really bad in a very similar type of style. So maybe not the big plays in this game, but he can get in the end zone, which would obviously be big. He still gets more receiving than most people would expect. And I think he can be successful, at least on an NFL level, and hope that translates to fantasy. If it's a 30-30 game, I bet it will. That's my 16 different starts. Don't start all 16. That'd be impossible, but hopefully it works out for you for the ones that you do. Good luck, and I'll see you next week.